Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmerced.com and Libertarian101.com with a quick introduction to Libertarianism, a Libertarian 101. So, the point of this video will be to just kind of discuss some of the basic premises that Libertarians tend to identify with. Not all Libertarians identify with everything that I'm going to say here, but in general, this will give you a pretty good idea of the lines of Libertarian thinking. So let's start out with self-ownership, the idea that one owns themselves, their body, and their property. So if one owns themselves, then they get to decide what happens to their body. They get to decide what happens to their stuff. If they want to destroy their stuff, fine. If they want to give it to somebody else, fine. Okay, if they want to sell it to somebody else, fine. But no one has the right to take your stuff from you because it's yours. It's not their decision to make. They're not allowed to use violence against you. And that's what's referred to as the non-aggression principle. So self-ownership. So when you start with the idea that we own ourselves, which is a good place to start, because if we don't assume that we own ourselves, then you open up the possibility that others can own you. And then from that, kind of you can derive the idea that we probably shouldn't hurt each other to take our stuff, because then that kind of violates that whole idea of self-ownership. So that's sort of the core moral ethic. And the purpose of this is kind of, at the end of the day, society has to organize itself. You're going to have a bunch of people with different values, different views, different things. The question is, how can we coexist as peaceful as possible? There's going to have to be some basic rules. And some ideologies have very complex, very circumstantial rules. Problem with that is that you can always try to shoehorn something into those rules to create the reality that you want. So you can sit there and, well, libertarianism keeps it very simple, so that way everyone kind of has the equal consideration. It's your life, your body, your property. That's yours. You can take care of that. Nobody else can touch it without your consent. It's all about consent, about voluntarism, etc. So that's sort of the basic sort of ethical, political rule for how society organizes itself. So a lot of people will criticize libertarianism saying, oh, you guys just want everyone to be on their own. No, then there'd be no purpose for libertarianism. If everyone was on their own and was an island of one, then there would be no point in having to say, I own myself, because there's nobody else who I might end up in conflict with to make that point to. So the point of libertarianism's individualism is so that we can coexist peacefully and get along and work together. Cool. Then there's also the idea of decentralization. And this is just kind of makes sense that if people can choose what they want to do, that they're not all going to make the same choice. We're not all going to go get our haircut at the same store. We're not all going to go be part of the same religion. We're not going to be all in the same social groups. And so what you end up having is decentralization of generally everything in society. Meaning there's going to be more than one place to do it. There's more than one piece to it. And this has its benefits. One, it gives people alternatives. So when, let's say you have one actor, let's say your particular barber starts raising their prices, being really, giving really bad haircuts, you're not stuck with that. You can then say, you know what, I'm going to go to another barber. That decentralization gives you options, which actually ends up holding those options accountable, because now your barber is less likely to raise its prices, less likely to give bad haircuts, because they don't want you to choose someone else. So this is the benefits of voluntarism and decentralization in action. Because we can make choices, there's going to be more than one option. But also benefits of decentralization is that you have many different versions of the same thing with slight differences. This allows us to discover what works and what doesn't work quicker. Not just what's the best haircut or what's the best way to run a barbershop, but at the end of the day, every kind of business, every community organization, every nonprofit is a bunch of individuals cooperating. So through that decentralization, consensual process, we're also learning how to cooperate better, because successful business is learning how to take people cooperating, do it, make better use of resources, better get people to work together to create a better enterprise. So over time, we're learning not only how to use resources better, which means there's more resources for more people, but at the same time, you're also helping people learn how to work together better because they're trying different ways to work together. So basically, we're creating knowledge that allows society to organize itself better over time. So libertarianism isn't saying society should organize itself in X way. That's really not what we're saying. Mainly we're saying that what's the best way for society to organize itself? It's not something that may be constant. There may be actually different ways at different points in time, depending on reality, technology, culture, all sorts of different things. But if people are free, they can figure out what's sort of the best right now. But if they're not free, if you just sit there and say, hey, this is what I think is the best, and just impose it on everybody, what happens, even if it doesn't work, there's nothing for you to compare it to, and there's no way you can change it, because there's only one option. And people are very scared to change things when there isn't an alternative ready to go. So just to recap, libertarians believe in self-ownership. They own themselves. So that means people cannot use violence on each other, which results in people being able to make choices about their life. People making choices about their life results in sort of a decentralized everything, meaning more than one option, several different places, which creates knowledge, which creates better use of resources, which also allows us to live happier lives, because people enjoy being able to have control over their life. There is something that gives us a fulfilling sense of life in having that consent. It's part of why we enjoy relationships, or one of the things that makes relationships work. When you're with somebody else, you can always just leave, and because of that, they're less likely to become oppressive. Okay, basically, someone can only be mean to you, horrible to you, if you either can't leave or are likely not to leave, not likely to exercise your autonomy. So your autonomy protects you. Your ability to choose protects you, in a sense. So that's why libertarians are so fervent about protecting choice. So that's basically libertarianism in a nutshell. Now, a couple of things just to kind of point out. Generally, when you have a monopolistic way of doing it, which is typically what government does, because government doesn't do the same thing twice, it does it once, and generally says nobody else can do it now that we're doing it, you end up having the opposite of these things. You end up being less efficient because there's no incentive to be efficient. You end up getting less quality because there's no incentive to be quality. And also, at the same time, government tends to attract people who more likely want to abuse power than people who are... There's no choice, there's no alternative, there's no ability to withdraw that holds everybody else accountable, holding government accountable as much as, at best, you have politicians who get elected every several years. So for several years, they can pretty much act without impunity, long as they get on your good side come the next election. So it tends to have the opposite effect. So it's not that any particular solution is bad or good. The question is, where does that solution come from? Either from a sort of centralized government process that doesn't have these factors that hold it accountable, or is it from a decentralized consensual process through individual decisions that allows us to try many things, figure out what's best, so we can get to a better place quicker and better. So I'll talk to you guys later. My name's Alex Merced. If you want to learn more, head over to Libertarian101.com. You can also learn about a lot of my other projects over there at alexmerced.com. I have several podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, which you can find on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Just search for Alex Merced, also on Spotify, and you'll find all those podcasts. And again, if you go to alexmerced.com, you'll find them as well. So thank you guys very much. Have a great day and enjoy.